Last time we were chatting, you mentioned it being very difficult for you to eat out because of these seed oils. Talk more about seed oils as a whole and why they're so problematic.
They are significantly problematic because even at my own home, uh, the tendency to use seed oils is so pervasive. If you get bread from the outside, any kind of bread, it would be usually made with some kind of seed oil that doesn't have any of the hydrogenated fat in it, because hydrogenated fats are bad right now. And so they say, well, we're going to not have any of the fatty acid molecules in them. But even that is an error. And I'll explain that when we talk about canola oil. The second thing is that the seed oils are so inexpensive and so easily available that even the highest quality restaurants, like for example, you go to a place that is making steaks, the seed oils can take a higher heat. So searing the steak is now done with seed oils. And I feel terrible about that because I have to go to a restaurant and tell the waiter that, hey, can I please talk to your chef? Because the waiter himself does not know. And many times you're not able to talk to the chef. And even if you do talk to them, you're not sure that any of what you are asking for is followed. Now, let's say you ask for butter at a restaurant. Many times you are given fake butter, and it's hard for you, just from a taste standpoint, at least to me, because I'm not that discerning in my taste buds, for me to recognize whether I'm getting fake butter or real butter, because the fake butter by design is made from vegetable oils, polyunsaturated vegetable oils. And these are some of the reasons in which I say that it's almost impossible to eat outside, that you have to cook more or less your own food in order to be sure that you're not consuming vegetable oils in any significant quantity. And I don't know if your experience is different. Are you able to find restaurants where you can say, safely assume that you're not going to consume vegetable oils?
Not confidently. We'll ask specific questions if we're at like a Mediterranean restaurant and does your hummus contain olive oil or some other vegetable oil? And
Canola oil.
you yeah, it's very difficult.
So, with regards to the canola oil, um, the FDA gives it labeling permission in such a way that it can have, I think, roughly about 3.5% of trans fat in it. We know that trans fat is very bad for us from multiple different studies that have been done. But the canola oil industry said that if we say that we have trans fat in it, then we are doomed. Our industry will close. So FDA told them, I think, that for every 14 grams, if the amount of trans fat in them is about less than zero point 0.7 grams, you can label it as zero trans fat. So in other words, vegetable oils that say zero trans fat may have almost close to 4% of trans fat in them. Now go figure that out as to why that has not been informed, why the public has not been informed about this kind of labeling practices.
It's crazy. It sounds like a money thing.
Well, you got to be somewhat understanding of industry. There is canola oil industry, they may lose their jobs, they may lose their livelihood, people might not do well from that. Perhaps these big food companies can be pressured by grassroots movement to change and modulate before it becomes too late, because none of this regulation is going to come from top down. You cannot expect FDA to think about your health without balancing economy, without balancing job loss, it ain't going to happen. It's only going to happen through grassroots movements, and the grassroots movement is going to start by the consumer knowing the truth from people like you.
Well, let's expand out and talk about cooking methods. This ties into what
What
cooking
method?
methods. You talked about
Cooking
steak
method.
being seared with vegetable oil at a restaurant. I'm assuming you totally avoid deep fried foods.
Absolutely.
Talk about other methods of cooking though, like grilling on a barbecue, and if you are cooking at home, what different methods do you use to keep that quality food at its peak health and quality?
Absolutely. So let's touch a little bit about why we say frying is bad. Because usually the omega-3 vegetable oil, which is ALA, which is found in fish, and the omega-6, these oils can get oxidized. So they have oxidation is a bad thing for the oil, because that oil is not very good for the human body. It can increase inflammation. So omega 6 has a high oxidation potential. You get many more aldehydes when you heat vegetable oil to a high temperature. If omega 6 can get oxidized, omega 3 gets oxidized even more. So it might be useful to pause for a minute and think about canola oil, because canola oil is sold by saying that it has a higher content of omega 3, plant based omega 3 ALA, compared to the other seed oils. But when you think about it, the canola oil is then the worst, because it has the highest oxidation and aldehyde potential of vegetable oils. And that's one of the reasons why you should never consume anything that is deep fried, especially from a restaurant, because their deep fryer, that oil may not be changed for a week to 10 days. And reheating vegetable oil over and over again increases the amount of oxidation and aldehydes in the oil and makes it more and more toxic. But when you look at animal fat, like beef tallow, like lard, it has a much lower oxidation potential at high heat. Animal fat, like beef tallow, can take the same degree of heat and have less oxidation products compared to vegetable oils. So that's a very important aspect. That's why you should always cook in animal fat. Butter may be an exception, because butter smokes at a relatively low heat, right at around 290, maybe at about 300 F Fahrenheit. So be careful with that. Still cook in low heat when you're using butter.
If you enjoyed that clip, you're going to want to head over here and catch a full episode. I'll see you over there.
Phytosterol levels are significantly increased in people who are taking a statin. And this phytosterol is causing damage and harm that has not been properly investigated. With regards to the canola